men who claim to be gods or speaking for God. I don't claim to speak for any deity. I speak for me. That's the difference between us. I don't need to lie and say I'm speaking for a deity to lend any credence to my voice. Credence to my voice is not decided by me. It's decided by whoever's listening. And I don't need to make those false claims. You either believe me or you don't. Anyway, hop on over to buzzpo.com, and it's a North American ISIS speaker new terror jihadist video over there on Buzzpo. Take a look at that and read it, and take a look at the video, and it'll open your eyes a little bit. And just keep in mind, as many as 40 ISIS-linked U.S. citizens left the U.S., trained in terrorist stuff, and have since returned. Speaking about good old religion trying to pose as government and use its influence to impose tyranny and repress people from enjoying the gifts of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness that have been granted to us by our Creator. The theocracy, the theocrats in Iran, have sentenced dancers, yes, people who dance, to 91 lashes. They're going to be chained to a pole and beat 91 times across their back publicly for dancing to Pharrell Williams' song Happy. You know the song, folks. You know, if you've watched, I forget whether it was number 1 or number 2, it's Despicable Me. You know, got the minions going nuts, you know, clapping. And then, of course, you have that despicable excuse for a human being who calls herself Miss America, who slapped on a red Solo cup and called it talent to that song, too. You know, the Planned Parenthood worker, the child murderer. Anyway, you've got Pharrell Williams out there, you know, doing this song, and it's a snappy song. It's a cool song. It's got some feel-good stuff behind it. You know, it's a great song. Snappy, lifts your moods. So some Iranians, you know, did a video of themselves dancing and listening to the song. It's a great song. There's no vulgar lyrics. It doesn't talk about sex or violence or anything lewd or rude or anything negative. It's just dancing and being happy to be alive. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, that's kind of a cool thing, right? Well, these Iranians danced to it, and now they're being sentenced to 91 lashes because how dare they dance to a nice song. I wonder what Pharrell Williams is thinking about the impact this song has had, because that's got to hurt a little bit. You write such a beautiful song and you perform it, and now people are being hurt just because they like it and they want to dance to it. That's, yeah. Hey, if anybody has Pharrell Williams' number, go ahead and leave it down in the comments, or send it to me in a private message on Facebook or Twitter. I'd really like to talk to Mr. Williams and find out what his thoughts are. Anyway, again, Buzzpo is carrying. There's a video there of the people who are going to be lashed too. But over on Buzzpo, Iranian court gives 91 lashes jail sentence and a jail sentences too. They're going to be incarcerated for dancing to the song Happy. You know, it's just something to think about today, folks. The way things are. That's just not cool. Other not cool things that shows how people may or may not have their brain cells, you know, fully lined up and firing is I forget his first name, Grimm. No, I'm not talking about the TV show, folks, but the U.S. congressman, I think. Anyway, the one who was indicted and I think even convicted for something, or at least a sentence. Not sure. I have to go back and actually read the story, but I kind of crossed my eyes along this, so maybe somebody can call in 520-226-8567 who might have more details. But evidently he's running against the Democrat there, and he's doing quite well. So either the Democrat's worse than he is, in which case there's got to be a libertarian running, right? But yeah, he's not a good guy, but he's looking to beat the left-wing people despite being a corrupt individual. So yeah, crazy. The lack of intelligence exists on both sides of the aisle, folks, because you have people who vote for a political party just because that's what they've always done. They don't bother to look at the candidates and what they stand for and look both sides. There are actually some Democratic Party members who I would vote for over certain GOP members if lined up, simply because I think the one is a more moral and honest and dedicated person than the other. I expect them, in those cases, I do expect them both to be corrupt, by the way, because I do see more corruption on one side of the aisle than the other. It's just that the right side of the aisle, normally we see corruption on the right side of the aisle. We tend to out ourselves, or out those individuals relatively quickly, and put our fingers in their chest and say, hey, you know, we can forgive later on, but for right now, go do penance. Get away. You have lost our faith. We're going to find somebody else to fill your office. That's how we usually are. So, I mean, sure, people can atone and things can be forgiven later in the future, but you know, it takes a bit, sometimes quite a bit. Anyway, folks, this wonderful Tuesday morning, I'm trying to think what else we've got to talk. We've got a whole bunch, and I'm just trying to sift over. I actually go through my program notes and try to strip out what we don't get to. Because I always see great things that we can be discussing. Again, today, the majority of the conversation is about the good old strikes against the ISI and ISIS in Syria. Again, if you have anything to say about that, comments, suggestions, whatever, further information, because, of course, I'm not seeing everything that's coming across the wires while I'm live. I do my show prep prior. But give a call over here to 520-226-8567. We'll pop you up on the air and let you know what's... I'll let you speak and let you speak your mind. Just keep it rated PG, folks. So, in the meantime, we were talking about those 40 ISIS members and Senator Cruz's proposed bill to revoke the U.S. citizenship of people who decide they want to be threats to the United States. Well, here's something else from Senator Ted Cruz who wanted to stop Obama's unilateral executive overreach policies of doing amnesty without legislation to actually enable him to do it.
I would be ignoring the law in a way that I think would be very difficult to defend legally.
It's outrageous. President Obama is planning to offer amnesty to millions of immigrants who've entered the United States illegally.
I would be ignoring the law.
But Obama wants to do it after the November elections because he knows amnesty is unpopular and he doesn't want Democratic senators held accountable. We all celebrate legal immigration, but Obama's planned amnesty undermines one of the fundamental principles that makes our country so great, the rule of law.
Very difficult to defend legally.
We cannot hope to solve the crisis at the border without first addressing the fundamental cause of it. Log on to StopObamasAmnesty.com and sign the petition to stop Obama's amnesty. Senator Ted Cruz is leading the fight to secure the border. Stop Obama's amnesty and celebrate legal immigration. But he needs your help to hold Obama and Senate Democrats accountable. Sign the petition at StopObamasAmnesty.com and send a message to President Obama. No more amnesty.
Agree or disagree? I kind of agree with it. Amnesty is a bad thing, folks. People have broken the law. We shouldn't. Last time we bent to the will of the amnesty crowd and granted amnesty to a small segment of those already here. What happened was it caused a huge wave of more illegals trying to hop the fence and get in. It sent the wrong message. It didn't alleviate a problem. What it did was create a bigger problem. So we know it doesn't work, folks. It doesn't help a dang thing. We need to enforce our laws that are on the books. If somebody wants to come here and live in the U.S., they need to abide by our laws, and that starts right at the border, including how they come into our country. Speaking of laws, there are laws out there that maybe should not have been passed, and of course all these are on the state level, although they're federal initiatives, and one of those, or a group of those, have to do with education. Education violates the Constitution as far as the federal government's involvement in it, folks. If you don't believe me, go read the Constitution. And if you're going to say, where is it listed in there? Well, that's the point. It is not listed in Article 1, Section 8 or Article 1, Section 9. It's not listed there. It's not listed in the responsibilities and authorities of the president. And I think that's Article 2. It's not listed. I don't think it's directly listed in the court's authority either in Article 3, but they do kind of have some responsibility there to adjudicate any cases that come before them, that is. But that doesn't mean they can legislate and make laws. They can just adjudicate based on the laws that are already on the books. Well, if the federal government infringes, okay, now you sit there and think, well, if it's not in there, then it doesn't say anything about it. Yes, it does. The 10th Amendment says, if it don't say it in here, if the power is not granted to you explicitly, if it's not stated in here saying this is your authority and responsibility, well, then guess what, federal government? You need to stay out. Because it's not. And if you do it, you're breaking the supreme law of the land. And the Supreme Law of the Land Clause, I think, is Article 6 or Article 7. I'd have to remind myself. It's been a couple of days since I read it. So, them getting involved in education and twisting lion's tail and forcing schools to do certain things by saying, if you don't do that, you don't get the school lunch program, which is also unconstitutional. Or certain federal monies or grants for education, which are all unconstitutional. Then you don't. If you don't do what we say, then you don't get that money. Well, some of the stuff included in that is Common Core, folks. So Common Core is creeping in and affecting us, forcing us to bend knee to federal tyranny, despite the fact that it's unconstitutional for them to do so.
The new school year is just around the corner. Government bureaucrats are about to force millions of American children into Common Core classrooms. Our children will no longer learn traditional math and American history in their classrooms. Even worse, our children's information is going into a government database. Their test scores, height, weight, and more. Go to FreedomWorksCommonCoreFails.com website today and download the action plan to stop Common Core and Obama's progressive allies from ruining our education system. Get the plan today at CommonCoreFails.com and take a stand for America's next.
Yeah, that's one of the things that Greg Abbott talked about in his in the last debate when they started talking about education issues, and Wendy Davis sat there and flapped her gums and spoke rhetoric but had no plan. Yet Greg Abbott talked about his plan, and his plan included very specifically putting more authority down to the local level. Now, he mentioned putting it in the hands of teachers. I'm sorry, Greg, but no. Not the teachers. The teachers are the employees of the parents. Quit trying to take away the parents' authorities, because that's what's happened. Put the authority back with the parents where it belongs. Let them vote and make the decisions. In some cases, school board members who aren't even elected. They're appointed. So you have some that are elected, some that are appointed, and they're deciding stuff without actually talking to the people. It's taxation without representation all over again. And now it's being pushed all the way to the federal level, dealing with something that is a local level issue, and that's education. So, folks, get involved, find out how to put a halt to Common Core, how to stave it off, how to get more involved in how your children are educated, including the decisions made about how that's going to be paid for. And just think about one thing. The areas that have flooded and increased their spending on education the most throughout our country have had the worst success from it. They've actually had a decrease in ratings instead of improvements in academic performance. Think about it. It has nothing to do with money and everything to do with motivating the kids and the parents being involved in making sure the kids are studying, sitting down, making sure they get their homework in, and not just making sure they get their homework done, but making sure they have time to be a kid afterwards, which I know in these days is so difficult. But making sure they're learning at their level, making sure they're enjoying what they're learning as much as they can, making sure they're actually understanding, and that they're not being spoon-fed the answers, they're figuring it out for themselves, and then making sure they're going out and having some fun to relieve that stress, because it ain't about the standardized tests. When they start talking about pushing those standardized tests, you may even need to go so far as to pull your kids out of school during those days and tell them to lick your left knee and make your right patella jealous, because those tests and the stresses that the teachers put on the kids to perform cause a lot of problems for the kids. And I've seen it. I've seen it here in Texas with the STAR test. I've actually had to flat out tell a teacher, the tests reflect on your paycheck, not my child. So quit dumping your problems onto my kid. Because if I catch you again, I'm suing you. Actually, I said it to a principal. My kid no longer goes to that school. So, a lot of the teachers at that school have left too, because there was a lot of pressure from the principal. And it all had to do with test, not are the kids actually learning. So, she's failing. Anyway, talking about schools and failing. Remember Connecticut, folks? Isn't that where Sandy Hook Elementary was located? And my heart still goes out to the families of those children that were so tragically murdered by that whack job. But other schools have gone so far as to just completely go overboard. A school went on lockdown, and they were even considering taking actions of trying to suspend or have somebody arrested because of clothing they were wearing. There were reports of some strange man, about 5'7" in height, wandering the halls, wearing an army jacket and looking disheveled. When they finally caught up with the person after doing the lockdown and doing a search by search, they found it was one of the students wearing a Vietnam-era field jacket, just to keep warm. Nothing wrong with it. There's no insignia or anything on it. It was just a field jacket, Vietnam-era, so it wasn't even camouflage in pattern. So not even something that's currently used by the military and hasn't been used since the early 70s. So 30 years, 40 years. Hasn't been used in 40 years. Well, they went in and, found that the kid had the jacket. Ooh, big threatening jacket, folks. School went on lockdown because somebody was wearing an olive drab colored jacket. How ridiculous is it going to get? These flippin' Comperchicos. If you don't know what a Comperchico is, folks, you look it up. Look up Ayn Rand's essay and read it. And when you look at that and you think about, how things started and the way they've progressed in education since then, you'll be nodding your head and going, we need to do something about this. Because it was all done for political reasons. All this stuff, to include this, it's for political reasons. It's to make you want to bend knee and not do anything to defend yourself against tyranny, because it's coming, or at least that's the way what they want to do. Well, folks, this about does it for today's show. Tuesday, September 23rd, 2014. We'll see you right back here tomorrow from 8 to 9 a.m. Central Time. I am Paul Gregory Matushak. This has been the Mouth of Matushak Show, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.